I want to share what I saw, what I felt, what I smelled those days. I am a witness of Hiroshima survivors.
She's one of very few people left who can testify to firsthand what happened with the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945. It's estimated the United States bomb killed more than 100,000 Japanese civilians. The woman who you just heard from, Keiko Ogura, she was just 9 years old when the atomic weapon hit. And since surviving the war, she's been vocal about the inhumane horrors caused by a nuclear blast. And just a year ago, she shared that story directly with college students at the University of Idaho. It's a good time now to bring in Andrew Bartline, because today, well, we heard that story again here in Boise, but we're now hearing it through a different lens.
Yeah, and that's through these students that have befriended Keiko in a sense, right, Joe? And it's no coincidence that these 5 students from the University of Idaho are also studying the Japanese language while at university. And they've spent the last year translating Keiko's book into English. It's her firsthand account, and even visiting with her back in Hiroshima. And these students are now in Idaho's capital city today from Moscow to share the gravity of this project, and they even set some time aside for us.
Pictures.
It's history.
After the bombing.
Few living today
for other
can testify.
Survivors.
But Keiko Ogura.
Then I'll tell you what happened.
She remembers nearly 8 decades later.
On 6th of August, my father said, Keiko, you shouldn't go to school.
And she didn't.
This photo.
Because Keiko.
I was under this mushroom, cried.
A Hiroshima survivor. Now a teacher today.
Yes. Yeah. We were like actually sitting in the classroom.
Yeah. Impressing upon Andrea Golden.
Yes.
And Madison Buckles.
She is very, very involved in a lot of the politics surrounding nuclear warfare.
When she came here, she also stopped by to our classroom and she presented a kamishibai, and she asked us to translate it for her so that she can share it to more parts of the world. It's a style of storytelling, and it literally translates to a paper theater. On the back of each slide, we have like the kind of story that we read. So it's very focused on the visual storytelling with like the pictures, and it's much more emphasized on that.
And much more powerful.
I think so.
Than just words.
This one right here. Okay, that's where we'll start.
On a blank page.
When Keiko left, the burn victims were walking down the road in front of the house. 1, 2, 3 lines. The number of people were increasing. They walked in rows, burnt arms outstretched. And then nothing like this.
At that time, they were told not to give water to the burn victims. Keiko, being so young, didn't know that. I didn't give them any either, Keiko lied. After realizing her mistake, the death of those 2 people became an unforgettable incident for Keiko.
Is there symbolism in that? Like, what should somebody get from this story?
I think the symbolism there is that we only see half of the story. We only see the part from the American side. We don't see what actually happened to each individual person in Hiroshima and the death that they witnessed at the hands of what we did.
Before this, I had that previous knowledge that was just very, very watered down or just very simplified.
Obviously, it's a totally different alphabet, but there's a lot of words that like not a word in English. It kind of is, but not really.
There's definitely times where our class was very split 50-50, doing a literal translation or doing a more figurative translation. We went through, I think almost 3 or 4 edits of our translation before we were like, okay, we're confident and comfortable putting this out.
Those students presented that translation in whole today with Keiko at the Idaho Water Center in downtown Boise about less than an hour ago. These students admitted that they had some nerves going into this, but mostly they were just excited. And part of what we talked about as well, Joe, is translating something can be very difficult. Like, there are words in Japanese that maybe don't exactly exist in English. And so that's kind of an interesting part too, is kind of what they were talking about for a moment there.
In these firsthand accounts and really the translations of them, or the secondhand account because of the language barrier, those are things that the world will lose as time goes on. Most commonly I remember hearing it with Holocaust victims of, you need to hear their story from them, because there will be a point where there are no more Holocaust victims or no more World War II veterans or no more survivors of the atomic weapon. And these stories that you hear, it gives you such a perspective that it's hard to understand because we weren't there for it.
Yep.
But to think about in the context of where we are today and how everything's the worst thing that ever happened, when you look back, I mean, we've never in our lifetime seen a nuclear explosion.
Yeah, and that firsthand experience, right? People don't live forever. And so when you have that story, literature can be very powerful in that sense. Translating it into another language, in this sense, English, I mean, it helps people understand that on a more, I think, direct basis when it comes straight from the horse's mouth, per se.
Yeah.
So that's really the value with that. And these students are really proud to be a part of it.
You were saying Keiko was 9 years old when that happened in Japan?
Yep.
Unbelievable. College kids in 2023 telling the story. All right, 208 rolls on right after this break.